Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I wanted to make this as a follow up to my video, being a single woman, because after I did it, I started thinking that I wanted to talk more about the whole concept of being or coming across as desperate. I kind of touched on it, I kind of alluded to certain things, but I really just wanted to go more into depth about it and like my feelings on it. So, like I said before, I don't think anyone should be demonized for not wanting to feel lonely because feeling lonely is a terrible feeling. I would know from firsthand experience. It is awful. Uh, Feeling lonely, I think, comes from feeling like you're not truly connecting with people because, again, you could be in a room full of people and still feel lonely. You're not alone, but you're lonely. But when it comes to this whole thing of being desperate, right? So I feel like and I'm really talking about desperation when it comes to relationships specifically, but I feel like the problem with being desperate is what you're opening yourself up to. Now, I said before that you don't want to let the wrong people in your life, and I want to go more into detail about that and about them draining your energy and everything because while I don't think that there's anything wrong with admitting that, you want connection, you don't want to feel lonely, you don't want to have to go through things by yourself all the time. You want to feel like someone cares. Maybe have someone to have true heart to hearts with. Have someone that you can call on if you need them. Feel like someone truly likes and or loves you, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, I think it's completely natural, and I think that pretty much everyone should have that person in their life, like at least one person who can give them that, right? I do think that that's very important, but I think that it's dangerous to get to the point where you want it so bad that you become desperate. And that's also why before I had talked about how, it's good to have like a single season, quote unquote, or just a certain period of time where you really are to yourself and you're discovering what you want, what you deserve, what you like, what you don't like, etc. I think that all of that is important because if you don't take that time to really learn those things about yourself, learn who you are, then because here's the thing, I think that even if you do have self love, right? I think you can still get desperate. Like if you go without something for too long, you start to get desperate. I mean, for example, we all need water, right? And you can go without water for a certain amount of time, but you still need it. So at some point, it's like you need water. Like, I don't care. Like, you do need it. Like, you went without it for a certain amount of time, and maybe at first you were good, and then it started to get less good. But now you're at the point where, no, you need water. And while I'm not going to necessarily say that companionship is at the same pedigree as water, I would say that just having human connection of some kind, again, it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, though romantic is a type of relationship that is different from others and is nice and has its own benefits that other relationships may not give. But the thing is, you you can't, like, connection is a necessity. It is. It is. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that's why we have solitary confinement, because when you're by yourself for too long, when you feel lonely for too long, you start to go crazy. So it is a need. Like you can go like crazy, lose your mind, whatever, without connection. And again, I'm emphasizing connection, not just like having people around, because I do really truly deeply believe that there is a difference. However, getting back to the point of this video as it relates to desperation, if you haven't taken the time to learn yourself, once you get desperate, right? There are unfortunately people who will take advantage of you. Sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it, but whether they realize it or not, they will take advantage of your desperation, and they will take and take and take without giving anything back. And if you let yourself go into that because you were in this state of desperation, but you don't love yourself, then I believe what'll happen is you get into this relationship because you're so desperate for it, right? And then, you know, you start, there are certain red flags. And if you don't love yourself and know yourself and everything first, then especially because of this desperation, you start to ignore those red flags. You start to not even acknowledge the respect that you deserve, right? Because you deserve a certain amount of respect. You deserve to be treated a certain way. People should not be taking advantage of you, of any sort of kindness that you give them, any sort of niceties that you know, give them. Anything that you offer of yourself to a person, right? It should be reciprocated in some sort of way. It shouldn't be just a one way thing where it's take, 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 take. You should not let yourself get to a point where you're taken from. And when get into a state of desperation, that has a much higher chance of happening. And again, the red flags, they start to not even look red anymore. They might look pink. They might not even look pink. You might just literally not see them at all because of your desperation, which is why having that foundation of self-love, so that, okay, say you do get into this, we'll say it's a romantic relationship, right? Just for, uh, simplicity's sake. But you get into this relationship with this person and you were desperate when you did it, right? Okay. Well, this person starts to treat you however way. Well, if you have this self love, even though you got into this situation from a desperate state, and maybe you even stay in this situation for a little bit of time because of your desperate state, you're gonna, I think you're gonna get to a point where you say, you know what? I know that I didn't want to feel lonely and I didn't want to be alone, but this person is not doing for me what I wanted. Because I think, when people say that they're lonely, that they're tired of being alone, that they want someone, that they want a connection, again, you're wanting something positive. You're wanting to feel good. Again, you're wanting to feel not alone, not lonely, all of that, right? So if you get into this relationship out of desperation and this person still is making you feel bad, then I think if you love yourself first, you're going to get to this point where you say, I wanted to feel better. Ultimately, that's what I wanted. And feeling better in this instant was having a connection, was having this person who was going to treat me a certain way, but they're not treating me this way. They're not. And I deserve better than this because, okay, yes, now I have this person, and that's what I was desperate for, right? I was desperate for this person because I was tired of being alone, but this isn't serving me. This still isn't serving me as it should be because, as I said before, this isn't the right person. And so that's why I say that, you can't find just anyone, because then you get the scammers, you get the people who they just want your money, they just want somewhere to live, they just want, maybe you're their emotional rock, right? Like you're the person who they can always vent to, but if you want to vent in return, oh, they're unavailable. If they want to go somewhere, they grab you, but if you want to go somewhere, oh, they're not available. It's this one way thing. You set yourself up for that when you're coming at it from a place of desperation. So if you find something and seek something while you're in this state of desperation, it can cloud your vision, and you can end up being in an even more miserable state than you were before, or equally as miserable. And you may find yourself coping, even. You may say, well, okay, I know this person treats me like crap, but at least I'm not alone anymore. But if you do find yourself saying that, right, I would challenge you to really think about it and think, like, really, even if you have to physically write down a list of pros and cons to having this person in your life, do you really have more pros than cons? If you don't have more pros than cons, that's a problem. Or, I mean, even if you have more cons and few pros, I guess if those pros carry a lot of weight, like a lot, and they can overcome the cons, okay. But the point is that you need your pros, whether they're less or more, you need them to outweigh the cons of being with this person. And when you're in a state of desperation, sometimes you don't do that, you don't acknowledge it. But that's why I say, if you can, try, really try not to, as lonely as you may get, try not to seek relationships out of desperation, because sometimes that will leave you in a worse state than you were when you wanted someone in your life so bad. And sometimes by having the wrong person in your life, you're blocking the right person from your life. And even if that's not the case, sometimes you'll find that even though you do have this person in your life now and you're not physically alone, in ways you feel worse than you did when you know, were you feel worse with this person than you were when you were alone. So again, I don't think that there's anything inherently inherently wrong with feeling lonely. I think it's natural. If you don't have those connections, you're going to feel that. Even if you love yourself, if you don't have those connections, you're going to feel that. But loving yourself is going to help you make better decisions with those connections, and loving yourself so that even if you fall into a state of desperation, um, that'll help you try to still filter out the wrong people. People who, would lead you down the wrong path. So, that's all I'm saying. Just try not to get to that state. If you get to that state, you know, it's still understandable. It's extremely unfortunate. I do think that you deserve, compassion for that, because that's an awful place to be in, but it's an understandable place to be in. It really is. And, people will say stuff like, oh, well, join a group and get out the house. And yes, those are, great things to try to do. But if you're still, even with that, not finding connections, right? Even if you're keeping yourself busy, you're starting businesses, you're doing this, you're doing that. If you're not finding those connections, then of course you still may fall into the pit of desperation. It's natural, it makes sense, and you deserve compassion. But I'm just saying to try not to, if you can. If you do, still just try to have some discretion. But either way, you have my compassion. I hope that things change for you. I hope that you get the right person or people into your life that'll alleviate that desperation from you. And I hope that whether you have that desperation or not, you still have that self love for yourself, so that you know how you're supposed to be treated, and you won't allow someone else to treat you in a way that you don't deserve to be treated. So, with that, I will end this little video. I don't know. I almost feel like I should call it an audio since these are pretty much just podcasts, no videos, at least for right now. But still, thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this. Um, you have my compassion, you have my well wishes, and I hope to catch you in another one.